Hello, this is Rachel Benjamin. For this week's multimedia presentation, I will be discussing how local history impacts the present. Local history is the history of the people. It's their culture and their memories. In a town such as Little Falls, New York, the local history is a part of life. The Erie Canal and Lock 17, which run through the heart of Little Falls, brings history to the present. From the tourists who stop to watch the lock in action, to the rock climbers that climb along Moss Island, the history of Little Falls is everywhere, and it is the story of the canal. Learning about the canal through a guided historical tour will help the visitor embrace the beauty of the canal's history and Little Falls history. Furthermore, it shows how important local history is even today. I have created a presentation that includes a guided tour through the Erie Canal with stops along the way, describing its history, its culture, and its importance today. Hello, my name is Rachel Benjamin. I'm standing here in front of the Erie Canal in the town of Little Falls, New York. Before the canal arrived in this location, Little Falls had its own canal, which was about 2 miles long and was finished in 1795. The canal was a vital part of the city's formation. Creating the Erie Canal in this location was a significant challenge for early engineers who had to navigate the rugged terrain and tight passages of the gorge. Nonetheless, they successfully widened the Little Falls Canal to 70 feet in width and linked it to the rest of the Erie Canal, creating a water passageway from Buffalo to Albany and beyond. The current Lock 17, which we will see later on our tour, was built in 1916. During the 1916 celebration of the new lock, the remains of the nearby 1790 lock of the Little Falls Canal were compared to the new lock to display the city's ongoing determination for prosperity. When the canal arrived in this area, it brought a world of industry. The canal brought life to Little Falls, making it an industrial center by 1909. There were over 55 factories in Little Falls. Many businesses were built right on the edge of the canal, with bridges crossing the canal to allow store access for people and customers. The Erie Canal and Mohawk River powered industry in Little Falls. The water power textile mills from the Industrial Revolution employed thousands of immigrants. In this way, industry and immigration made Little Falls a culturally unique area through ethnic diversity by the 1900s. The small village of Little Falls transformed dramatically into an industrial center that matched the pace with the areas of Utica and Herkimer. The factories along the canal produced cotton, yarn, shoes, leather, pillow, axes, dairy machinery, cheese, and newsprint. One of those factories, the knitting mill, was one of America's largest calf skin finishing plant. Some of the mills are still visible behind me. Part of the cultural diversity of this area came from the Underground Railroad. The canal was a central part for transporting runaway enslaved people to freedom. Many enslaved people found passage to Canada along the canal. However, some of the enslaved people remained in Little Falls. Before long, Little Falls had a community of fugitive slaves and freed black people. After emancipation, the community became a vital part of this area's culture. Although many people were only given factory jobs, athletic African American men were sought to create the African American baseball team based in Little Falls. The team had many successes which brought them greater cultural freedom in the area. However, after several mob attacks and issues of violence, which included burning down the local church, most of the African American community that had existed in Little Falls has left. Although only a few factories remain, These things are an important part of the cultural history that shaped this area through the canal. Moss Island, situated between the Erie Canal and Mohawk River, is known for its rugged terrain and geographical features connected to the Ice Age. There are several deep chimney potholes along the island. As a part of the early history of Little Falls, the potholes were the location of several Little Falls diamonds sold by local children along the canal. One of the most distinctive features of Moss Island, noted by early settlers, is the profile rock that jagged out from the path over the canal. The rock appears to form the shape of a face profile, hence the name of Profile Rock. The surrounding stones remain from the early bedrock that the canal men had to carve out to create Lock 17. Before the lock was built, the early Erie Canal used 5 locks in the area to transport barges and boats up to 40 feet in the drop between the water levels. During the height of the canal travel, these locks were frequently busy, and the lockmasters often had to deal with traffic jams. By walking past the current lock, the visitor can see some of the early remains of the locks before this current one. Although once a formidable feature of natural beauty, the rough landscape of Moss Island is now used for rock climbing enthusiasts. Whenever there is good weather, rock climbers flock to this area to rappel up the side of the facade. Many visitors walk around the island exploring the potholes and looking for the Little Falls diamonds, the crystal quartz that were a central part of the early history of Little Falls. We see Lock 17 on the Erie Canal behind me. There are 57 locks on the Erie Canal. Lock 17 is the highest at 40.5 feet, or twice the height of most locks on the canal. By the time the lock was built, the railroad was already taking business from the canal. The early canal was separated from the Mohawk River for this portion to avoid the rapids. As a part of the modernization movement, canal workers created new locks with electric motors and prepared the canal for motorboats that would replace the mule-powered boats. Frank Williams, the state engineer for the barge canal, was the leading figure in designing this lock. The concept came from resolving the engineering problem of navigating various water levels. A dam would protect the boats, but it would not allow passage. Therefore, the engineers who created the locks used the dam and a staircase concepts to create a lock that would pool water to lift the boats up to the other side. Locks were made of different systems depending on the area's need. Lock 17 was one of the first locks to use the guillotine gate. The guillotine gate uses countermeasure weights to lift it. On one side, the pulley system is over the gate with 40 feet tall pulleys that seal off when the lock is dropped. On the other side, the long and over 3-foot concrete bar is used as the counterweight that is slowly released to lift the gate. This concept was new when the lock was finished in 1916. The lock was replaced the 5 locks that were here before. Now that we've seen all of the history of the Little Falls Canal, we can see how local history can have an important impact on everyday life. The rock climbers, the canal boats, and anyone traveling this way can see history come to life. Local history does just that. It impacts the person and their experience in their own town. Thank you and have a good day.